They certainly all gelled together. That championship season, 86-87, a fantastic season. Goals galore, so many victories, crowd levels up, the town really getting behind the club. What are your memories in particular of that fantastic season?
Oh, a lot of memories. Really, it was a bit nerve-wracking. You know, at first, I can remember we had a good run, and then we went down to Swansea, and they were a big side at the time, and there was quite a good crowd there that day, and then it made me realise, that we've got a bit of a side, and but overall, great support. I've always said that about Northampton. The away support, the home support, when I was manager or playing, were great support, and it was just an exciting time. It passes so quickly, Gareth. You're winning 2-0, you're shouting for the referee to blow up for time, and you're just wishing your life away, But you never really enjoyed being a football manager.
No, I mean, there was a period that season, probably during the autumn, where the side just looked unstoppable. Morley and Benjamin creating the goals, Hill charging through from midfield, McGoldrick and Gilbert delivering the balls from out wide, and I don't know, it was around the time I started watching the side. I remember beating Preston 3-1. I remember a game with Cardiff around Christmas where the kickoff was delayed because the crowds were queuing to get in. And it was just like a juggernaut was created, that the momentum just went on and on and on.
Yeah. That's when you probably got it done with a new ground to go the next year, and probably maybe help to attract players to the club. But we try, we'll try to move on best you can, but I always say sometimes things don't go as well as you expect when you go in the next league up, Gareth.
Before we get to that next league up, sticking with that championship season, there was also the FA Cup run, of course, and a fantastic 2 games with Southend, a 4-4 draw and a 3-2 win, and then a game that must have meant a lot to you, a trip to St James's Park to take on Newcastle.
Yeah, it's very top match, really. Great. When we knew who we were going to... The worst thing was the replay with Southend at home, Gareth, when I knew we'd already been drawn against Newcastle, and I thought, if this doesn't happen, and I think we went a goal down. I can't remember, but I think we did, and we fought back, and it was a great trip. The Newcastle game itself, it got postponed a couple of times, didn't it? And when it was eventually played on a midweek, there was Trevor Morley, who'd been such a key player, picked up an injury that could, in different circumstances, really have threatened to derail the season. But even though he was out for a couple of months or so, the results kept coming. Yes, I can remember Trevor with the injuries there. I think the central next Bradford City, the Bradford City manager was playing central defender. I think he did the damage on Trevor. But Trevor was quite tough. He used to come back quite quickly.
Even though Morley was injured, the results did keep coming. Maybe the momentum was lost a little bit, particularly away from home in the last few games of the season. But by then, the gap was so big and the lead was so dominant that the title was assured. And it must have been a great night for you that night at the county ground against Crewe towards the end of the season, when everyone came together for a celebration.
Yeah, when it was all over, Gareth, yes, it was a great achievement by the players as well, the total commitment, because we trained very hard and worked hard. We worked hard for what we got at the end of the season. But getting back to what you mentioned about the when the teams below us closed in, it was unbelievable pressure on when Preston used to play on a Friday night, and they were nearly always winning, and so we had to win on the Saturday. So there was a lot of pressure, especially when we had a rather big lead early on.
Yeah, I remember going up to Preston, as you say, on a Friday night on the plastic pitch, and Preston won 1-0, which they just chipped away at the gap. But then, I think there was a couple of important home wins towards the end of the season that were enough to keep the challenges at bay, and really it would have been an injustice had anyone else won the league that year, because you must have known and you must have felt that you were that far ahead of other teams, particularly in your strong runs, that you deserve the title.
And not quite the youngest bunch of players as well, Gareth, which was, the good pace in the side, just good. I just thought they were good players, really,
Was the fitness of your side a particular factor, do you think? Because apart from the Morley injury, you managed to avoid injuries. And I remember at the time that the media made quite a big thing about how tough the training was and how fit the squad was. And did you think that played a part, or was it just a case that you had better players than other teams in the division?
Well, going back to, when the Trevor Morley and them came in, I saw the improvement in them the first season, Gareth, through the training as well. By training full-time from being part-time. So that did help with some of the players, not the ones that have been full-time. But we did train really hard. We used to train every Monday in Abington Park, really. We used to have a really hard session on a Monday. And the fitness level, I thought, was very good. We used to train on there. We used to have spikes. We used to do that running on the track at Timken, which we probably wouldn't do now. On the running track, we used to do 400 metres, 200 metres, 80 metres, But that was only one day a week, so the rest was ball work or matches or whatever.